I'm a sales representative for leather goods, and my territory covers several states. Needless to say, I'm on the road a lot, with many nights in hotels. Usually I stay at the same Marriott Courtyard, Holiday Inn Express, and Hampton Inn. I'm recognized by the reception at each, which makes me feel safe and comfortable as a woman traveling alone. Except for one snowy February night. I got caught out in the cold, and a terrifying experience has left me a basket case. No longer able to travel my territory, I hide at night at home. Here's how it happened. As a territory representative, I was an open woman, friendly and trusting of most people. I would easily talk with people I encountered on the road. It's a way of life, perhaps like a truck driver who's away from home for days or weeks. If you don't chat and have conversations with the other road warriors, you will be a traveling hermit. I was driving late after an appointment across the state, trying to get to my next destination 8 hours away for another appointment the following day. I had my standard reservation at the Hampton and looked forward to relaxing in the jacuzzi when I got there. The weather closed in, and sleet and snow blanketed the roadway. I have an all-wheel drive Audi, so I confidently pushed on. The monotony of the windshield wipers cleaning the snow put me into a blank zone. I was just driving and not paying attention. I was not asleep at the wheel, just not focused when I let the car drift off the tracks of the cars ahead of me, and it pulled my car into a snowdrift. I tried to back out, but the wheels spun with no traction. I looked forlorn through the windshield and saw the red lights of a hotel sign at an exit no more than a few hundred yards beyond where I was stuck. With the choice of sleeping in the car and hoping for a road service to find me and a warm, comfortable hotel room for the night, I decided to hoof it to the hotel. As I walked up to the hotel, I saw it was an old place. It way predated the superhighway it stood nearby. It was probably built in the 1920s for travelers on the old route. The electric neon hotel sign looked to be from the late 1960s and flickered as if it might blow out in the wind and snow. The parking lot was empty, except for one car. I walked in and rang the bell for service. An elderly man came from a back room and identified himself as the hotel owner, Mr. Knocknable. "Welcome to the Overlook Hotel." I laughed at how appropriate for a night like this. The German name translated to night fog, and the Overlook Hotel, well, that speaks for itself. He demurely checked me in at a very reasonable rate of $35, gave me a key to room 325, and pointed to a rickety elevator. I was worried the room would be as disheveled as the exterior. The hall carpet was threadbare and stained from decades of guest boots. The room itself was clean, but badly dated. I took a hot shower and then tried turning on the TV. It didn't work. No cell reception in the room, nor did the guest card indicate hotel Wi-Fi. As I dressed for bed, I felt eerie. I thought I was being watched. I tried to shrug it off as just nerves. At midnight, I turned off the bed lamp and closed my eyes. But as I lay in bed, I heard a deep murmur. It was very rhythmic, and it drew my attention. I went to my door and opened it to listen in the hallway. It was loud, but coming from another part of the hotel, filling me with curiosity. I followed the sound of voices chanting or singing in another language. It led me down a spiral staircase that went to the basement. A stone hallway led to a wooden door. It was very spooky, but I could not resist the chanting. I cracked the door open just enough to peer in. My jaw dropped in terror. There were maybe 20 men and women dressed in black robes. They were swaying in unison, chanting in a language I had never heard before. At the center was Mr. Knocknable, the hotel owner. He was holding a serpent in both hands above his head. He looked in a trance with his eyes turned into his eye sockets. What ritual they were performing, I had no idea. On a table in front of him lay a nude woman, tied and blindfolded. She was clearly in distress, struggling against the restraints. Was it an exorcism or something more devilish? I backed away and silently stole back to my room, where I dressed quickly and ran from the hotel. As I exited the hotel, the tow service brought my car into the hotel parking lot. I hurriedly paid and fled the Overlook Hotel. I am now petrified to travel and dread ever again staying at a hotel. I recently graduated with a master's in biology and have landed a great job in Albuquerque. I was excited about moving to Albuquerque. It's a vibrant city full of skyscrapers, deserts, and mountains, with nightlife and outdoor recreation and magnificent scenery. A dream come true for a girl who has worked hard to achieve it. The downside is that I'm very close with my family, who live in Houston, a 14-hour drive from Albuquerque. After my first 30 days on the job and learning Albuquerque, I was anxious to get back to my family for the warmth around a kitchen table and my mother's enchiladas. She makes the best tortillas. They're the best. They just drip with flavor, and her quesadillas are just yum. But best of all is the laughter around the table. I love being with my family. I left Saturday morning, July 2nd. I had plenty of daylight to drive to Dallas, which would be a 10-hour day, and then I'd stop at a hotel and make the 4-hour drive Sunday morning to my mother's. I pulled into a Marriott courtyard where I had made a reservation. A silver Lexus pulled in and parked next to me as I did. I gave a friendly wave, feeling it was a kind thing to do to a fellow traveler on the road. Nothing more intended. I walked up to the reception desk and gave my name as the man walked up and stood behind me, waiting his turn. I inquired about pool hours and whether the hot tub was warm. She assured me it was. She handed me my key card and said, "Welcome, Maria. Your room is 424, elevator on the left, pool on the ground floor. Enjoy your stay." I was more than a little shocked that she gave my name and room number loud enough for the man behind me to hear. I didn't want that man to know my name and room number. I smiled meekly at him as I turned and headed to the elevator in my room. I didn't think he was a killer or anything, but as a girl traveling alone, you never know. I relaxed for a few minutes, put on my bright and flowery red, yellow, and orange swimsuit, slipped into the house robe, and headed down to the hot tub for a soak before sleeping. But when I entered the pool area, the guy from the lobby was already in the hot tub, floating with his head back. He was nice looking, not super handsome or muscular, but sexy. He looked like a regular guy, not a serial killer, kidnapper, or bank robber, so I decided to enter the hot tub with him. He was friendly and said, "Come in, the water's great. Sit by this jet, it's putting out hot water." He moved over and gave me his spot. We started a conversation, and I was really enjoying myself. I'm a bit of a talker once I get going. I told him all about Albuquerque and my new job, that I was going home for the 4th of July, and how great a cook my mother was. After an hour, he suggested we grab a drink at the hotel bar before calling it a night. I was enjoying his company, so I readily agreed. I took the elevator to my room, quickly showered, dressed, and headed back down to the bar. Edgar was already there with 2 Manhattans and an appetizer. Now, any girl would know that this guy had further plans for the night, but I wouldn't let that happen. 1 drink, and that was going to be it. We were chatting and laughing, and I was having an excellent time with the handsome, blue-eyed traveler. He said he was going to see his mother as well, and that set me at ease. After a few minutes, I was having difficulty focusing. My head was beginning to spin, and I knew he had slipped me a Mickey and that I was in danger. I had been warned many times of chloral hydrate as a rape drug. I smiled at Edgar and said, "I have to use the toilet, keep my drink fresh," and headed for the lobby restroom. But when I got close, I jumped into the elevator and ran to my room. I had extreme difficulty getting the card lock coordinated to swipe it open. I slammed the door behind me, slapping the door bolt into place, and fell to the floor. I awoke to knocking at the door. "Housekeeping." I held my head and looked at the clock beside the bed that had not been slept in. 2:33 p.m. "Give me 30 minutes, please," I groggily responded. I had been out cold for 14 hours. I was so stupid to have taken a drink from a stranger. The name he used, along with the credit card, was fake. The hotel had already reported credit card theft and had given the police a photo of him captured on the hotel's security camera. I continued my drive to my mother's house with a terrible headache and a terrible lesson learned. I don't often stay at hotels. It's a luxury I can't afford. I'm a single girl making her way in the world, well, in Port Arthur, Texas. I was born here and have lived my entire 26 years here. I've only been to Houston, an hour and a half away, a couple of times. I'm not very adventurous, and my wages from the diner where I waitress don't allow much more than an apartment and an old rickety car. But I'm not complaining. I love my life. Most of the diner customers are regulars, and I consider them friends. We laugh and joke, and most days pass pleasantly for me in Port Arthur. Then came Harvey, and that hurricane did massive damage to our city and my apartment. I had to take my old clunker and drive 350 miles to Fort Worth before finding a hotel to hunker down in for a while. The bright side was that my apartment building didn't sustain much damage, and I would be back in less than a week. I wasn't happy about it, but there wasn't anything I could do about it. Most of Fort Worth's hotel rooms were booked for the same reason I was there. I had to search around just to find a room. The one I found was in a decrepit part of the city, and even though I don't demand much, this was terrible. Terrible is being kind. It was disgusting, with garbage around the building outside and the exterior maintenance, well, it didn't exist. I was a little relieved when I entered the lobby. It was old but clean, and the desk clerk was unshaven but at least wearing a clean shirt. Many sounds of people and children emanated from the rooms as the hotel was booked, all people just like me who were displaced by Harvey. The clerk gave me my room key, the old kind with a plastic tag that says, "Please return," and postage guaranteed if dropped in any postbox. It was a first-floor number down a hallway leading to the hotel's back. Walking down the hallway, I saw a man standing before a door at the end. He was just standing, staring at the door. It gave me chills. I don't know if he was on drugs or mentally challenged or what, but he was standing in front of my room number. I said, "Excuse me, this is my room." He turned and walked away without a word. It was super creepy, but what was I to do? I turned the key and had to fuss with it slightly, but I was happy enough when I entered the room. It was dated but nicely made up, and the air conditioner was working, which was a big relief as it was August. But otherwise, it's what I expected for a cheap hotel room. I locked the door, lay on the bed, and checked the remote. Nothing. The TV didn't work, but I'm not surprised given the hotel's overall upkeep. I settled for my laptop, and thankfully the hotel had Wi-Fi. As the evening progressed, a loud thump came to the door. A single fist knock. Very strange, I thought. I went to the door to look, but there was no peephole, so I put on the chain lock and opened the door a crack to peer out. The same deadhead was standing at my door when I came. He was standing only a foot from the door, and when I cracked the door open, he stared in and we made eye contact. I asked him if he needed something, and he dropped his jaw just enough to say, "Yeah." He didn't say anything more, so I asked, "What is it that you need?" He mumbled, "This was my room. I forgot my stash in the drawer." I said, "Wait a minute, I'll take a look." I didn't want his dope in my room, and if that makes him go away, that would be great. I found a small cigar box the size of a brick taped closed in the dresser's bottom drawer. It had no weight and nothing rolled around as I removed it from the drawer. It felt empty. I hoped the stoner wouldn't think I stole the contents, but he could see it was still taped. I took it to the door, but it was too big to slip through with the chain lock on. The guy was pushing his body weight against the door and trying to take it with his fingers, but it would not fit. This guy was scaring me, and I had a terrible feeling if I didn't give him his box, he would go all crazy to get it. I opened the door for just a second to give him his box. So I said, "Back up, let me open the door." The second I slipped the chain lock off, he slammed into the door, knocking me to the floor. The door closed behind him as he pulled out a gun and was screaming for me to give him my money. I grabbed my purse and shakily gave him all my cash. I thought someone would hear him screaming, but the hallway was too noisy with all the other families with music, TVs, and children. I was in a perilous situation. He held the gun in my face and stared at me with pure evil in his eyes. I feared for what was next and perhaps death after that. He pushed me away, snatched my laptop, and bolted from the room, slamming the door behind him. It all happened so fast that I couldn't comprehend exactly what had happened. I lay on the floor and cried, thankful I was alive and unharmed.
Subscribe.